Hello everybody, Teacher Carrie here. Today we are talking about mock class. You've gotten through the interview, you've gotten through the demo, and all that's standing between you and your VIP kid teaching career is your mock class. I know that you might be feeling really nervous about this mock class. I know I was. I was super nervous and I watched so many YouTube videos trying to prepare, and it helps a lot to help you prepare. But remember, when you're preparing for your mock class, don't try to copy what another teacher does. So don't try to take what I do and copy it word for word and memorize what I'm saying. That's what I did. I tried to memorize these videos that I watched, but the problem was then it wasn't really me and it wasn't my teaching style. Remember that you're going to be doing this with a real person, and they are going to be responding to your teaching, and they're going to throw curveballs at you. So you've got to be ready to adjust what you're doing. So my biggest tip to you is to focus on the objective for each slide. As you're preparing, look at the slides and figure out, what am I trying to teach on this slide? Don't script out exactly what you're going to say. Have an idea of what you're going to say, but focus on what am I trying to teach rather than what I'm going to say, because you'll have to adjust to what your mock class mentor, how they respond to you, just like you'll have to respond to how your actual students are learning. Some things to think about for your mock class that your mock class mentor will be looking for. First, if you haven't already, check out, I will link below my VIP Kid teaching tips. Definitely watch that as you are preparing for your mock class, because these are specific tips that your mock class mentor will be looking for you to use these teaching strategies in the classroom. So make sure you check out that video. Today, before we jump into the slides and walk through them, I want to focus on a few things that your mock class mentor will be expecting you to do well on in general. Number one is your attitude. Be happy, be friendly, be warm, be encouraging. Have a good attitude. If you are being a little snappy or not being very friendly, you're not going to pass your mock class. So just make sure that your attitude is good. Number two is your appearance. You don't have to get dolled up, don't worry about looking, super fancy, but just like a job interview, make yourself look presentable. Just make sure your hair is not crazy, whatever. Wear something, nice looking. There's no specific requirements for what you need to wear, but whatever you wear, just make sure it has no writing on it or logos or anything. Just make sure that it is a plain top and modest cut. Behavior. Just make sure that you are focused on your teaching. Don't be eating, unless you need a sip of water, don't have a drink in class if you can. If you need to take a sip of water, that's fine, but just don't be like sipping on your soda or your latte while you're teaching. That's not going to go over well. Make sure that there's no background noise. If you have kids especially, don't do this when you need to be tending to your kids. Don't, have them running around by you. Even though it's not a real class, treat it like a real class. Just take out any variables that you can that might disrupt your class, because if you have a disruption happen, they very likely will not pass you on that attempt and you'll have to do it again. Technology. Make sure that your internet is fast enough, that the streaming quality will be good. Make sure that you have your headset or headphones that you are going to be using that have a good quality sound. Make sure that your webcam is working properly. I just use the one built into my computer, but whatever you're going to be using, make sure that that is set up and ready to go to work for your camera. Your setting, background. Make sure that you have some type of educational background. It doesn't have to be elaborate or fancy. You can use what you already have in your home. Just make sure that there's something behind you and that it's not distracting. You don't want crazy stuff everywhere. Make sure that there's not a ton of glare on your background. It could be a map. It could be just a welcome to VIP Kid sign or something. Just something behind you to make it somewhat interesting and educational. You could just have the alphabet up, whatever it is. You don't need to worry about purchasing anything big for that, especially for your mock class, but have something behind you that's not distracting and is educational. Position, just make sure that you are positioned in your camera well. You know, don't be way up here where your head's cut off. Don't be way down here. Just make sure that you are framed nicely in the camera. Maybe open your camera before the class starts, and just make sure that you like the way that it is set up. Make sure that your computer camera is at eye level, and that you know where to look, that you're not looking down like this as you're talking. Make sure that you're talking to the student or the mock class mentor. And lighting, make sure that your light is as good as it can be. It doesn't need to be, professional lighting. You don't need to buy anything super special, but just maybe bring a lamp into your room. If you're shadowy, make sure that you're balancing out your light. If you have a window on one side of you that's shining in, maybe make sure that you have a lamp on the other side, just to balance it out so that you don't have a lot of shadows on your face. So remember that you have only 10 minutes for this mock class, and they will stop you at exactly 10 minutes. You spend about 1 minute per slide. Some slides might take longer than others, so just make sure that you're compensating on that. When you get to real classes, you have a little buffer zone. You don't have to finish at exactly 25 minutes. You have 25 to 28 minutes, and your pacing will come. This is something that was the hardest thing for me to get down, was my pacing. So it will come as you become more familiar with it, and you will feel the natural pace of each slide that you'll know how long to spend on. So there are 2 lessons that you need to prepare to teach for your mock class, and your mock class mentor will choose one. So be ready for both. In this video, we are covering Interactive Level 2, Option A. So if you look at the slides, and I'm looking at the slides here, so that's why I'm looking off to the side. If you look at the objectives slide, it will tell you what you are accomplishing in that lesson. So for this lesson, the words that you are teaching, what you're covering is the word ball and the verb to throw. That's what you're trying to teach in this lesson. You're going to be conjugating it as he, she, I, and they throw. And finally, you're going to be blending words with ZRSH with IP at the end. So those are your lesson objectives. That is what you are going to be teaching. So make sure you understand what it is you're trying to teach. Make sure on each slide you know what you're trying to teach. Rather than memorizing what you're going to say, think about what you're trying to teach. So let's go to the first slide after the objective slide. This is the welcome slide. This is where you'll start in your lesson. And here's how I would do it. Hello! My name is Teacher Carrie. What is your name? Hello, Riley. Riley, how old are you? Good. I am 5 years old. Good. Very good. That's all you need to do on the first slide. Just build rapport with the student, be friendly, smile, introduce yourself, ask their name, and ask one follow-up question. You can ask them, how old are you, or how are you today? Those are good level 2 beginning questions. I suggest asking how old you are so that you can get an idea from the mock class mentor of how old they're pretending to be, since they're not an actual student. And that way you kind of know how to approach talking with them at an age-appropriate level. So after you've introduced yourself, then you can also circle the lesson title if you want to introduce the lesson. And I would circle and say, my friends and I. Good. Now make sure that you are cupping your ear anytime you want the student to repeat. The mock class mentor, they really are pretending to be a student, and they are going to test you to see if you're doing these things to help the student. So if you don't cup your ear, they probably won't repeat you. So make sure that you're doing this anytime you want them to say something. I have a helper. Yes. Also, keep in mind that your mock class mentor will make mistakes on purpose to see how you are correcting them, and make sure that you are hearing their mispronunciation or other ways that they might make an error. So make sure that you pay attention to that. They're not actually making a mistake, they're testing you. So don't let those get by. Catch every single error that they make. And in the video of teaching tips that I mentioned before, I talk about how to use positive correction. They will be expecting you to correct them in a positive way, not in a negative way. So make sure that you are doing that anytime that they make a mistake or when they don't speak in a full sentence. VIPKID wants to teach full sentences for everything. So anytime that your student uses a one-word answer, try to provide them with the full sentence. When they get further down the line, they're able to do this themselves, and you can just say to them, you know, make a sentence, and they'll know how to do it. But for these early lessons, you'll need to be providing that for them. So for example, when you introduce yourself to the student and you say, "What is your name?" And if they just say, "Riley," you say, "Oh, good, my name is Riley." And you're giving them that sentence so that next time they know what to say. So if they use a one-word answer, make sure you provide them with a full sentence, or if they make a mistake, make sure you catch that. So moving on to the next slide, this is the reward slide. Now you don't have to use this as your reward. You need to have some type of a reward system for your student during the class. You can use this interactive reward slide, or you can use your own. I like to use my own. Mine is very simple. I use these stars. When you're teaching classes, you will always have stars that you're giving your student on the classroom. And as long as you didn't have any major issues in class, they should be getting 5 stars every class. That's expected. And so I have simplified my reward system to I give them little gold stars at the same time that I give those stars. So I say, "You get a star." So that's my reward system that I use. You can use anything for your reward here that you want to. When I first started, I used actually this ice cream. I have more scoops as well. And I would say, I would hold up my little ice cream here and say, "When you do a good job, you get ice cream." And then when they would do a good job, I would take a scoop of ice cream and say, "You get a scoop of ice cream," and put it on the cone. Simple, fun, good for lower levels. You can do anything. You could have a toy and you could say, "When you do a good job," I need more hands, "you get a ring." Yay! Anything like that is fine. Just have something. If you are using your own reward system, instead of this interactive one, still use this slide to teach them to drag and drop items on the screen. This is something that your mock class mentor wants to see you teaching them, because this is specific to the interactive lessons. And so as you are certifying here for interactive level 2, they want to see that you know how to use these interactive features. And one of the big ones is drag and drop. So use this slide to teach your student how to drag and drop. So you see that it is a picture of toys, and you can drag them into the shopping cart at the bottom and they will disappear. So you can circle at the top, "My toys." Hold up toys. And then you can show them, you model it first, take one of the toys and say, "Drag, drop." And I would be doing this on the screen. I just don't have it here. You say drag and drop and show them. They might know how to do it, or your mock class mentor may pretend that they don't understand and you might have to explain it. So if you need to explain it, you can grab your mouse. This is just my prop mouse. I don't actually use this mouse, but you can grab your mouse and say drag, drop, drag, drop. Teach them that way. Or a lot of kids use tablets or touch screens. A lot of them don't have a mouse. They're not on a real computer. So if they're still struggling, you can grab a touch screen, your phone or a tablet, and you can show them drag, drop. So just until they catch on, just try different ways to show them. It's very important that you use this slide to teach your student to drag and drop. They will be looking for you to do that here. So going on to the next slide, this is where we start vocabulary. And the word that you are teaching on this slide is ball. So this is how I would do it. Ball. Good. Ball. Good, buddy. He's being my student. Good job. Now, I recommend you do not have your baby in class with you. This is not a good way to do your mock class. Okay, let's try this again without the baby. So, we get to the first vocab slide. Ball. Ball. Good. Ball. Good. Make sure that you're repeating the word by itself at least 2 times. I suggest 3 just to make sure. They want you to repeat it by itself, not in a sentence, to start with when you are teaching it. Now also keep in mind that you need to be having some props in this lesson. You need to have at least 3 props, but use more if you have them. It will help score you more points. So this is a super easy one. Just have a ball. On this slide, you see at the bottom the objectives for this slide. You're also wanting to teach the phrase, it is her ball and it is his ball. So this is a good time if you have any kind of little dolls, pull these out to teach her and his. So after you say the word by itself, then you can circle the girl and it is her ball. It is her ball. Good. Whose ball is it? It is her ball. Good. Circle the boy. It is his ball. It is his ball. Good. Whose ball is it? It is his ball. Good. Very good. Next slide, we're continuing vocabulary, and here we're practicing. So you've already introduced it to them, and now we're going to practice. This is also a really great time to pull out a puppet if you have one, or any kind of stuffed animal. Doesn't have to be a real puppet, but they do love puppets, and they will like it if you use a puppet on your mock class. So to introduce the idea of asking a question, sometimes the kids don't realize that you are asking them a question rather than asking them to repeat. So you want to ask them, whose ball is it? Instead of asking them first, you can model with your puppet. So you would say, Mr. Mouse. Hi, Mr. Mouse. Mr. Mouse, circle the boy. Whose ball is it? It is his ball. Very good, Mr. Mouse. Whose ball is it? And then your student will understand the pattern of asking a question and how they are supposed to answer. So that's a good way to incorporate another type of prop, because remember, you need different types. You can't have all 2D props or all 3D props. You want to have a variety. So a puppet is a really great one to add in for variety of your props. So you can circle the boy and say, whose ball is it? Good, it is his ball. Good. Then circle the girl, same thing. Whose ball is it? It is her ball. Good, very good. You get a star. Good job. Or whatever your reward system is. Make sure you remember to give that reward that you introduced. Don't forget about it. So now they've practiced that sentence. You're asking them, and they might still need you to help them with that sentence frame, but you're giving them a chance to try to answer the question, whose ball is it, on their own. Give them the chance to try, and if you need to help them model again, go ahead and do it. Next slide, they're continuing to practice by applying what they have learned. So now you're seeing if they know the word ball. So this is where they will be doing a drag and drop. So you might have to model for them again, but first see if they can do it. You say, ball! And you might do this to show that you want them to drag it. You can say the word ball, or you could say, where is the ball? Ball! And you want them to drag the ball to the basketball court. If they don't do it, go ahead and model again. Go ahead and drag it for them and say, ball! And then if you hit on the bottom, make sure that you understand these interactive functions too. Make sure you know how to use the buttons. The button with the little arrow is a reset button. So you can click that and it'll put the screen back to where it was. So you can drag the ball, say ball, and then reset the screen so that they can do it and ask them again. Once they've watched you do it, they'll probably know how to do it. Now, moving on to the verbs. This is where we are introducing the verb throw. So I would underline the first one where it says, he throws, and just say it. He throws. He throws. Good. Underline she throws. She throws. Good. She throws. Good. They throw. They throw. Good. Now you're just introducing here, so you can just have them repeat. That's all you really need to do on this slide. So continuing on to the next one, this is where they're going to start practicing. P for practice. So we are going to say, you can just underline the sentence, he throws. And you can circle the first one and say, he throws. Good, he throws. And then you can circle the next one and say, he throws? No. And circle the last one. He throws. He throws. No. Or you could try to introduce the idea of circling. You could say, circle, he throws. Circle. And then you could circle it because you haven't taught them to circle yet. So you could model that. He throws. But just focus on, you're just wanting them to identify that the first picture is showing he throws and the other ones are not. Next, they're going to apply this knowledge that they have learned about the verb to throw. So you have two options at the top, throw and throws, and they can drag and drop to the correct slot in the sentence. So it helps if you say those two options for them first. Just keep in mind if you try to like underline it, it's going to move that word, so you can't really do that. So sometimes I'll draw an arrow to the first one and say, throw. Then arrow to the second one, throws. And then I'll underline down where she blank. I'll underline the blank part and say, she. And if they get it, they'll go ahead and drag it down. If they're just sitting there and they're not sure, say, she throw. She throws. Throw. Throws. And then hopefully they will understand what you're doing and they'll pick one. Then underline the next one. I drag, drop. Remember to remind them of drag and drop. And then move on to the last one. He underline blank. He. Good. He throws. Good. And another prop that you can use here is a whiteboard. I have this whiteboard that I, from Dollar Tree, $1. I used a permanent marker to write all of these out so that I can just add to it when we're practicing conjugations. So if you wanted to, you could do something like this. You don't have to, but you could write it in here, you know, she throws. You could circle the S. Throws, to emphasize if they're, you know, struggling with emphasizing that. I throw. Good. That's an option for another prop that you can add in. Moving on to the next slide. This is where you are beginning phonics. So different ways that you can do this. I would, sometimes I use my hands for blending, you know, one sound, ending sound together, or I will use my whiteboard. This is also a time that you could use little letter cards, something like that if you wanted to. So I could take my marker board here and write IP. And I'd circle in the center of the screen there, circle IP. IP. Good. And then you pick up your first letter that you're blending, and you want to make sure that they are understanding the sounds that these letters make. Now make sure that you are using the correct synthetic phonics for these letters. Make sure that you figure out on these lessons that you have to teach what the phonics is, the correct sounds. So take your first one. Good. IP. 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 Zip. Good. Zip. Good. Ip. Rip. Good. Now you can be gradually having them take more responsibility for blending these. You help them really model it for the first ones. And then we get to S when we do S. Good. S. S. Good. Yes. S. Ip. Sip. Good. Also, I didn't do this, but you should be having them draw a line to connect these words. So you can show them the first one when you do Z, and you do ip, zip, and show them, whoops, to draw a line from Z to ip and then up to zip. And so just make sure that they're making those connections on the screen. Yes! Ip, hip. Good. Draw a line. Good. Good. Very good. The next slide is your free talk slide. So with this one, by the time you get here, you might be out of time, and so you might have to just say one thing and move on, or you might have some extra time. This is a great place for extension. So this is where you could talk about all kinds of things. The point of this is to be reviewing what you have learned in this lesson. So you would want to be reviewing the word ball and the verb to throw. And so you could say, I always start a free talk slide by just saying, what do you see? And that gives me a chance to think of a question to ask when I ask them, what do you see? So they might say, ball. And you say, good. I see a ball. Make sure you're giving them that full sentence when they just say ball. you say, I see a bomb. And then you could say something like, who throws? Good, they throw. Very good. And the next slide is your goodbye slide. So you're done. You get to the goodbye slide, and you can just, if you have a reward left, I would give one last reward on the goodbye slide. So you would, you get a star. Give your reward and then say, you did a good job today. Good job. I will see you next time. Bye. And that is it. That is your mock class. So make sure that if you haven't already, you watch the ESL or VIPKID teacher tips video that I'm linking below. Make sure that you watch that and think about those things in your teaching. And if you do not have a VIPKID coach helping you through this process, please send me an email. My email address is below, and I'll be able to add you onto my referrals, and I can help you prepare for your mock class, help you practice, and help you get started teaching. If you are looking to sign up for VIPKID, the application link is below. Please follow that to start your application, and we will get you started. Thank you so much for watching. You are going to do great on your mock class. Don't be nervous, shake off the nerves, and just have fun.